So this week in the Krasner text, we read Minding My Own Business by Deb Margolin and Practicing the Paradox by Peter Lobdell. Both of these seem to be very much an apologeticist approach to why Strasberg's method really worked for them and their own personal experience with it. Since the entire Krasner book is the method reconsidered, these two are really good to bring back near the end of this entire term. Some things that I noticed were that they don't demonize the other approaches at all. They don't talk about how ineffective they are, which is an approach that was not given to Strasberg whenever people were demonizing the method because of their own bad experience with it. Instead, first, in Minding My Own Business, Deb mentions this liminal space between the actor and the character. So the actor having to be operating on two different mindsets. One where they're in the imaginary life of the play, whereas they're also in the life of the actor and the stage in the actual physical actions that are taking place. Strasberg even himself said that you cannot deny either reality. You have to kind of operate and be very relaxed and concentrated while imagining both. So in this way, imagination that Stella Adler addresses is in fact covered. It just was not as explicitly stated because it came before the Stella Adler approach. And so what Deb Margolin has to say about that was, in this liminal space, the affective memory is not necessarily digging into your most traumatic past and then seeing what you've got, which is what a lot of actors, myself included, actually attempted at first. You're supposed to look at using your imagination. Yes, we use experiences from the past to help us, but it's just to help us to figure out what stimuli evokes certain memories for us and certain emotions for us, so that then we can mix and match those stimuli in our preparation of the character. So Margolin does this in her reading by talking about one night she was getting ready for a date and how this affected her reading of a monologue that she was performing that night, where she started using something that was not mentioned but was explained in the book, that is called endowment, where she endows the weight of the vacuum cleaner. She begins holding it and it becomes sensual, more erotic approach to her monologue than she had done before because she was getting ready for this date. How this connects with the Peter Lobdell is that Peter Lobdell goes into what sensory memory really is, and that it's the sensory memory exercises are not meant to be duplicated in the reading, but only to help you prepare for your characterization. So using these memories that you have is just a way to try to find the things that stimulate you and the things that can affect you emotionally, so that in your preparation you can just go to those immediately before you even get to the part of the stage where you need to. And it's a way of creatively trying to figure out, what is this character feeling in this context? So, but by starting first with yourself. He also talks about how the concentration goes back to the idea of living in both places that Deb talked about in her reading as well, is simultaneously paying attention to not only the other person and the activity that's going on the stage, but also what should be happening in the life of play at the same time, which requires an immense amount of active concentration, listening, and relaxation so that you don't get stuck and so that your energy doesn't get blocked. I thought both of these readings were very interesting, since most of the book and most of the players that we've seen, such as Sanford Meisner, Stella Adler, all kind of demonized Strasberg's approach, which is also the first reading that we read about. So it was really interesting bringing it all back to see these other methods. This is what Strasberg meant by these things, to help to include these methods and maybe even to mix and match the different approaches that people use. These chapters were also very exceptional for teachers, to find different approaches to help each child and each student as they are learning how to act. Stella Adler, I think for the younger kids, might be something that is more to use because it uses much more on the imagination and teaching about active listening back and forth. Sanford Meisner is something that, because of the emotional awakening that happens in it, I would probably wait until they're in high school, like late high school, so that we know, okay, exactly, so that they can start practicing the active listening, but also understand that the person that they're in a scene with, it's just fake, because, around this age, there's already a lot of emotions flaring at this stage, and a lot of students thinking that this emotion is going to last for forever. So I would not probably introduce Strasberg's method until later high school, even into college, where they've got a little bit more grounding of a sense of who they are, because that was kind of my problem. Whenever I first approached Strasberg, I'd heard all of these different things, sensory, memory, and all of these things, and so I just went with my most dramatic memory I could think of and dwelled on that for a long time. And it's very interesting to see that that is not what Strasberg meant. At least that's not the interpretation from these two authors in particular, when we'd gotten so much of that from the other people who were in the group theater with Strasberg. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to my vlog this week, and I hope you guys have a tremendous week. Bye!